final run through the papers. Joining us once again, the broadcaster and journalist Afua Hagan and the journalist and author Gemma Forty. Lovely stuff from you guys this morning. But Afua, the story we start with, page 21 of The Sun, I have to say, it's one of those stories in a news landscape which is nothing but bleak at the moment. I mean, this is up there with the worst of the news.
I couldn't agree with you more. This is an absolutely terrible story. And this is something that's emerged after the sentencing of Sabina Nessa's killer yesterday. So here you have the picture of him sizing up, basically, a weapon that he was going to use to kill someone. We know that he picked Sabina Nessa at random, and apparently he checked into a hotel in Eastbourne where his ex-partner was working as a chambermaid. Staff there was suspicious of why he'd booked into this hotel, and called police, but police did not attend. He left there. He ended up in Kidbrooke in South London, where he eventually picked Sabina Nessa at random and killed her with this triangular shape. I think it's sort of like for when you've broken down on the motorway, you put this triangle up, and he ended up killing Sabina Nessa with that. So basically, we have this picture story of him choosing what weapon he's going to use to kill someone, whether it was a rolling pin, whether it was this triangle. And it's just the depravity of this person is beyond all imagination. And, you know, Sabina Nessa walked through this park at night. She was on her way to a date. And like every woman all over the world, has a right to be walking wherever she wants, whether it's dark or not, and to be able to get home safely. And unfortunately, she couldn't do that in this case. And her killer refused to attend court, refused to face her family, and still was sentenced in absentia. But the story, like you said, is just so bleak and so grim, and it's just so heartbreaking that a woman was lost in this way.
Yeah, sentenced to life, but of course that will do absolutely nothing to alleviate the family's pain and torment. Gemma, let's go inside the Times. And I have to say, both of you, in fact, looking as if you're dressed very bright colours for the summertime. Perhaps a holiday for both of you may be in the offing. I mean, but Gemma, as the page 21 of the Times points out, you might get to the airport, you might not get much further.
That's it. Now, I'm old enough to remember I was a child of the 80s when air travel was sold as the most glamorous experience and all very exciting. Well, I'm afraid right now the airports are not offering anything near glamour. Queues, chaos, a lack of border officials, a lack of staff throughout, including on the planes themselves. So there's been airlines cancelling flights left, right and centre. But on top of that, not only are the airports in absolute chaos, but there's also going to be train strikes this weekend. You've got the P&O debacle. You've got lorry queues at Dover. I think this really begs the question, what is happening to the infrastructure of Great Britain? We are the 6th biggest economy in the world. Where's the Transport Secretary? And what is happening? It's just gridlocked and miserable and at a standstill. And, you know, as you say, people haven't been away potentially for a long, long time. This is people's hard-earned cash, their excitement to go off and have a break, and it's all rather grim and upsetting. And of course, it is largely down to COVID staff shortages. Apparently 1 in 13 people in the UK have COVID, so living with COVID is looking like living with chaos, frankly.
It certainly is. Afua, take us inside the Telegraph, a story we've been covering, a story that every news outlet in the world will be covering. Will Smith, having resigned from the Academy, barred from going to the Oscars for 10 years. I'm sure that will really, really, really upset him.
Well, I'm not really sure. I mean, not just barred from going to the Oscars for 10 years, but to all Academy Awards events, or all Academy events, he is still eligible to be nominated for an Oscar and could win it, but obviously won't be able to pick it up in person or virtually, it says as well. Now, this ban of 10 years is something that has only really been levelled at, you know, people like Roman Polanski or Harvey Weinstein that were banned from the Academy. Will Smith resigned from the Academy, so he didn't have to be kicked out, as it were, but they faced similar bans. And now what I think Will Smith did was absolutely terrible, and there's no condoning that whatsoever. I'm not sure if we should be placing him in the same bracket as people who sexually assaulted women, and that's why they were banned from the Oscars. But Will Smith himself has said that he accepts the punishment that's been handed out, by the Academy. I think what's more important in the statement that he went on to say is that he recognises that he took the spotlight away from other performers who didn't get a chance to celebrate on that night. And I think that actually is the biggest tragedy in all of this. The films like Summer of Soul and Coda, nobody's really talking about their wins, West Side Story, all the incredible things that people have done over the past year. Instead, and of course, Will Smith's Oscar win himself, instead of talking about that and the great work that's been put out in the arts, we're still talking about this slap. Now, whether that will affect his films going forward, he has a big film in the works with Apple TV, Bad Boys 4, projects with Netflix as well. Everything's kind of a little bit on hold at the moment. Yeah. But I would like to think that after a few months of reflection, he will be back acting. Maybe won't get another Academy Award nomination, but I hope that he will come back better and brighter and will have learned from his mistakes in this episode.
Well, we will see. Appropriately enough, though, Jenna, your next story, your story involves Rishi Sunak, who, of course, compared himself to Will Smith in a newspaper interview the other day, in a move that I'm sure his special advisors immediately cheered. But this story, of course, not necessarily entirely about Rishi Sunak, but also about his wife, Akshata Murthy.
That's right. And there's been a lot of talk about whether Rishi's wife is fair game to even bring into the conversation. But given that he's the Chancellor of Exchequer and the story is about her tax affairs, it is entirely relevant. So he has stopped talking about a smear campaign. He has now backpedaled, if you like, and she is going to now pay the tax that she would have paid if she hadn't been a non-dom, i.e. paid the government £30,000 to not have to pay tax on earnings earned elsewhere. But, the other thing is, rather than do that, Rishi Sunak could just close the loophole. It isn't his fault that loophole exists. It has been there for consecutive governments for hundreds of years. But that really isn't the point. What we're all looking at now is this incredible unfairness. The more money you have, the more loopholes there are to exploit. So that the super rich actually don't really pay the tax. Arguably, they could and should. So tiny violins out, really, because he is also...
Gemma, I'm so sorry, but we do have to leave it there. Gemma, Afua, it's been a real pleasure seeing you both. Have a lovely weekend. We'll see each other again soon. But you can stay right where you are after the break. We will, of course, bring the latest from Ukraine. President Zelensky calling for a tough global response after that airstrike.